What's up everybody, I'm Kirk and welcome back to the channel. E3 2021 has come and gone, and what an interesting E3 it was. Unsurprisingly, this year's show did away with the overly crowded show floor and kept everything online, letting us enjoy E3 in our pajamas from the comfort of our couches. So pretty much just like every year for most of us. While everyone's response to this year's show may run the gamut, for me, a guy who runs a channel with a first-person shooter focus, this year was a feast. And for this video, I've decided to showcase a good chunk of this E3's best FPS games and announcements, presented in my own imagined E3 show floor, with each game carefully curated into booths of my invention. Hey, it's a convention full of gimmicks, so why not have a gimmicky YouTube video to go along with it? But before we wait in line, go through security, and step onto the show floor, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for more videos on overblown shooter hype. Alrighty, let's get started. Okay, so we've finally stepped onto the show floor in a sea of flashing lights and booming sound systems. Still a little groggy from waking up, but nothing that Starbucks cold brew we just pounded won't fix. The first booth we're going to visit, just to get it out of the way, is the announced but not seen booth, which everyone is eager to check out, but will ultimately leave unfulfilled. These are the games that were announced but only talked about by their devs in awkward Zoom interviews, or announced with only a cinematic trailer to show for it, or sometimes just key art, like our first game. Developer Starbreeze popped up during the Koch media presentation to share some nice words about the Payday series, and at the end of the presentation, they spoke about Payday 3. Fans have known Payday 3 was already in development, but this served as a little update and featured some nifty key art. Ooh, look, they're on a rooftop and have snazzy jackets. Yeah, I know it's not terribly exciting, and hearing the developers say the game is years away is less than ideal, but at least we have some epic heisting to look forward to in the future. Next up is Painkiller. Yes, Painkiller. The heaven and hell shooter where you massacre legions of unholy monstrosities is coming back, and is being developed by none other than Saber Interactive. Saber is best known for their work on Halo the Master Chief Collection, and are currently working on the remasters of the Crisis series. Absolutely nothing was shown for this other than the logo, but it was nice to see that former id Software members Todd Hollinshead and Tim Willits are involved with the project. It's been almost a decade since the last Painkiller, and it's definitely a series that deserves a refresh. Can't wait to see what this one looks like.
You cannot hide from fate, but you can make your own.
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands takes the beloved Assault on Dragon Keep DLC of Borderlands 2 and expands it into its own full game, once again thrusting players into a Dungeons & Dragons inspired fantasy adventure with everyone's favorite psychotic teenager assuming the role of Dungeon Master. Borderlands' signature cooperative gameplay and procedurally generated looting will of course make a return, with new mechanics like spellcasting. Now, while Borderlands 3 was generally well received, many were critical of its writing and storytelling, which does put some pressure on Wonderland to excel in this area, especially since Assault on Dragon Keep was utterly hilarious. Well, at least I thought it was. Wonderlands is aiming for a 2022 release and will be a cross-gen title, the PlayStation family, Xbox family, as well as PC.
Will this creature be in the game? No. Say goodbye to it forever.
Oh, real quick, Outer Worlds 2 got announced, which was a pleasant surprise. Happy to see Obsidian getting another original IP off the ground, so to speak. Not much to say on this, as there's not much to talk about, as the trailer refreshingly points out. Give it a peek, you'll see what I mean.
You think they can't kill you anytime they want?
Hey, asshole!
Last game to check out in this booth, Bethesda and Arcane Studios' Redfall. Redfall is coming to us from Arcane Austin, whose last title was the excellent Prey. Arcane Lyon are the ones putting out Deathloop, in case you were wondering. Redfall is going to be a 4-player cooperative shooter that will see players taking on some sucky vampires. Get it? Sucky? While the shift to a multiplayer focus is new-ish for Arcane, Bethesda has insisted it will still feature the immersive sim design elements that makes an Arcane game, with each playable character having specific abilities that can be used together to accomplish goals. Might I remind all of you, this is the studio that made a game where you can turn yourself into a coffee cup to enter inaccessible areas. That kind of creativity unleashed on co-op design might be real interesting. However, I should mention you can also play through the game solo. Neither of the Arcane studios have let me down yet. Well, except for that one time, but we're just gonna ignore that. Either way, eager to learn more about this one. Okay, first booth down, now we're feeling warmed up and the coffee's starting to hit. You know what? What the hell? Let's go ahead and tackle the AAA hype booth, the loudest, most crowded of the booths, where everything is sticky from energy drinks. Everyone in here has an opinion on these games, some positive, mostly negative, but we all know they're gonna end up buying these games regardless.
Before he was El Presidente, mi papa loved to fish. We would go out on a boat, just like this. And we would catch the fish and then release them. He would say, it's not always about your stomach, mijo.
Far Cry 6 was sprinkled all throughout this year's presentations, and yep, it's looking like a Far Cry game. What gameplay was shown was in line with the mayhem we've come to expect from this open world staple. Ha! Choker on the chicken. Its fictionalized Caribbean setting seems to be a natural fit for the Far Cry universe, and the choice to bring in Giancarlo Esposito to play the villain is a good one.
But if you wanted them to live, you would have never set foot on this fucking boat.
$10 says there's a Breaking Bad inspired achievement in this game. Of course, in typical AAA publisher fashion, Ubisoft was hyping up Far Cry 6's Season Pass, which features an exclusive mode featuring the villains. But the real cool perk is the inclusion of the Far Cry Blood Dragon remaster, which I'm sure a lot of you are very happy about. Sucks it's gonna be in the Season Pass, but hey, at least it's finally happening. Far Cry 6 will be out October 7th on pretty much every console, Stadia included, as well as PC. Speaking of open world shenanigans, we finally got more of a look at Dying Light 2 during E3 and in the weeks leading up to it. Dying Light 2 is expanding upon the first game's parkour and combat mechanics, and features a massive new map with 7 unique districts to explore, each with their own factions the player can choose to help or not help, ultimately affecting the game world around them. The wait has been long, but Dying Light 2 is looking like it will be worth it. We'll find out December 7th, 2021. I suppose you can't talk about zombies without mentioning Left 4 Dead 3, Back 4 Blood. Turtle Rock Studios' return to co-op zombie action is truly looking like the Left 4 Dead follow-up we've been waiting for, and this year's show put some emphasis on the game's PvP mode, which will let players take control of the fierce undead to take a bite out of the competition. Back 4 Blood is dropping this October 12th as a cross-gen release, PlayStation fam, Xbox fam, and PC, and will have an open beta August 5th.
One of our own is MIA. I need an extraction team, now!
We finally got a look at Rainbow Six Extraction during the Ubisoft Snooze Fest. Serving as a spin-off for Rainbow Six Siege, Extraction will pit your operator against a parasitic alien force in horde-style combat. I'll be honest, I'm kind of iffy on this one. On one hand, tactical, stealth-intensive gameplay within a horde mode does sound interesting, and the mechanics of the alien forces looks pretty clever. But I'm not certain how fans will react to such a hard sci-fi concept being depicted in the Tom Clancy universe. Then again, Rainbow Six Siege is a game that has always defied expectations, and Extraction could make for a nice surprise. I guess we'll find out this September 16th, and just like Far Cry 6, available on all systems cross-gen.
There's not much time.
Of course, everyone in the AAA booth is all abuzz about Halo Infinite. Master Chief's upcoming open-world journey is still very much delayed, and disappointingly, Microsoft's E3 show did not provide a new date other than holiday 2021, which I'm kind of skeptical of. There was a new trailer though, once again featuring Master Chief floating around, doing stuff, and talking to a clothed Cortana not Cortana, which was intriguing. But if there was one very hype reveal, it was Infinite's multiplayer mode. It's looking like the Halo multiplayer we all know and love, and I suspect most fans are just fine with that. One major thing to note is that Halo's multiplayer will be released for free. This isn't news. Microsoft announced this about a year ago, but it's nonetheless exciting, and I think a good move all around to get new players into the franchise, but also potentially satisfy eager Halo fans in case Infinite's single-player campaign needs a little more time to shine. We can't leave the AAA booth without talking about Battlefield 2042. And my oh my, does this game look pretty! It looks like DICE is closing the history books and cracking open some science fiction novels. 2042 brings us back to the modern combat of Battlefield 4. New features include the ability to customize weapons within gameplay and an overhauled class system. Extreme weather effects, however, are the big new spectacular feature. Similar to the Levolutions from Battlefield 4, raging weather systems like tornadoes and sandstorms can drastically affect the game and send your ass right to respawn heaven. 2042 will ship with 7 maps and is doing away with a single-player campaign, although there will be a story told through multiplayer. Oh, and it bears repeating with a touch of hyperbole, the game looks drop-dead gorgeous and might be the best thing to enter my retinas in the history of forever. Okay, too much hyperbole. Battlefield 2042 drops October 22nd and is indeed a cross-generation game, the PlayStation family, Xbox family, as well as PC. Ugh, alright, enough of the AAA booth. Time to get a break from all that BO and flying spit. Okay, which booth should we hit next? Capcom booth? Jeez, barely anything there other than Monster Hunter. Square Enix? I don't see anything with a 7 or a 16 at the end of it, so I'm good. Sony? All Sony has is a TV with Horizon Forbidden West on loop. Ooh, there's some good stuff at Nintendo though. Not a ton of shooters, but hey, Doom Eternal Ancient Gods Part 1 and 2 is coming to the Switch. That's neat. When's it out? Oh, right now. Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out. Wait, did that just say Metroid Dread? No, I must have hallucinated that. Okay, where to go? Oh, okay, this looks cool. The post-Soviet horror shooter booth. Huh, it's an awfully specific booth. But hey, there's a decent amount of games in here. What do you know?
I can't have you falling apart. Don't you understand? I need you.
Chernobylite has actually been in early access on Steam since 2019, but developer Farm51 took the opportunity to announce its full release date during E3, not only for PC, but consoles as well. Chernobylite is a first-person survival horror game where you play as a scientist working within the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Explore, craft, and battle against radioactive creatures, all the while unraveling the game's non-linear plot, where your choices not only affect you, but the people around you as well. Chernobylite has been received well by those who jumped in early. Will everyone else react just as positively? I guess we'll just have to find out when the game releases next month, July 28th on PC, with the console versions following later in the summer. Here's easily the strangest game in the booth. Developed by Mundfish, Atomic Heart is an FPS with RPG elements, emphasizing exploration and rich, varied combat. The game is set in an alternate 1955 Soviet Russia, where technology like the internet has already been invented, and clearly has had a positive effect on this world. BioShock is a game that comes to mind with this one, and indeed Atomic Heart seems to be following in its footsteps, with a world ripe for all sorts of player agency that certainly rivals Rapture capture in terms of how utterly bizarre it looks. Atomic Heart has been in development for some time now, its initial teaser trailer having premiered 3 years ago. Sadly, there's not even a wisp of a release date yet, but when it does eventually come, it will be a cross-gen release, PlayStation family, Xbox family, as well as PC.
Afghanistan has changed you a lot, Uncle. It must be exhausting to carry such a burden on you, to feel the endless pain and endure the nightmares of such chaos you have survived.
Pioneer was a nice surprise during the PC gaming show. Taking heavy inspiration from classics like Stalker and Metro, this title seems to be taking a more fantastical, surreal approach to the post-apocalypse, while still retaining the grit and gloom so common with the genre. On top of promising hard-hitting shooting and RPG mechanics, Pioneer is aiming to be an online shared world experience, where players can interact with each other to cooperate or fight. And while you can go through this game solo, many of the game's challenges are more approachable with friends. Pioneer is an ambitious game, but so far it seems to be coming along beautifully. No release date yet, but hopefully we'll be getting more info on this one soon.
Ну, чё там?
I think it's safe to say that most of the games featured in this booth take some inspiration from Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl, the 2007 survival horror shooter that let players loose in the infamous exclusion zone, where they could explore, complete quests, and get the life scared out of them by nuclear nuisances. It's remained a beloved classic for many gamers, and now, 13 years after the release of Stalker: Call of Pripyat, GSC Game World is back with its sequel, and leaping Lenins does it look incredible. Now, I'll be honest, part of me is skeptical about whether or not the game will actually look this good upon launch. But what we have on display here are exquisitely animated characters and some tight-looking first-person shooting, wrapped up in what looks to be an action-packed, story-driven adventure. While there are still many questions left to be answered, the dev has promised a seamless open-world experience, with 4K visuals and ray tracing. Hopefully, we'll be learning more about the game between now and its April 2022 release on Xbox Series X and S.
Удачной охоты, сталкер.
Alrighty, we survived that booth and hey, got to leave with a free bottle of iodine pills, which is weird. But finally we've come to our final booth. The indie booth. You know, it's not the flashiest booth on the show floor, but something tells me we're gonna have a lot more fun here. Okay, so our first couple titles here aren't really technically indies, but to me this booth felt like a better fit, as opposed to putting them in the AAA hype booth where they'd likely get ignored. Right at the top of the Devolver Digital presentation, we got to see the new Shadow Warrior 3 trailer. We've seen plenty of Shadow Warrior 3 up to this point, but I'm always thrilled to see more of it. Lo Wang's newest massacre looks stunning, and the balls-out action this reboot series is known for looks to be adding enemy executions and environmental hazards. Sadly, strangely, no release date for this one other than 2021, and next-gen versions have not been announced yet. But I'm crossing my fingers we'll be able to slash and dash in this one sooner than later. Next, we have Codename Final Form, which was shown during the Coke Media event in a painfully short teaser that I think I've rewatched over a dozen times now. In this game, you play as a female humanoid robot trapped on a space station, with gameplay revolving around fast, movement-focused combat, and abilities that quote-unquote let you push past human limitations. Final Form is being developed by Raycon Games, who are best known for their beat-heavy top-down shooter Ruiner. Like in that game, Raycon seems to be taking influence from sci-fi animes like Akira and Ghost in the Shell, which for me is always a good sign the developers' hearts are in the right place. Apparently, Final Form is still a ways off, but this short teaser has me hungry for more information. Make sure you give it a peek for yourself. Coming to us from Dream-powered games and shown off during the Future Games Showcase, Warcry Challenges is described as if Super Meat Boy met the Doomslayer. Indeed, the game will feature brutal combat and fast, challenging platforming, with up to 180 different courses for you to conquer. There's no release date yet other than 2021, but you can wishlist it on Steam right now. Project Ferocious is another title featured in the Future Games Showcase. Ferocious describes itself as a survival horror game where you must survive on an island full of deadly prehistoric creatures. The game features a dynamic and interactive world to explore, which is destructible, with intense combats and customizable weapons, along with vehicles for both land and sea. And as you can tell by looking at it, the game looks stellar. Developer OMYOG has not given a release date for this one, but is targeting 2023. So it's going to be a little bit before this is going to be on our hard drives. But give it a wish list on Steam and keep an eye on it. This looks like it could be something really special.
The hounds seem anxious tonight.
It's the outsider. They don't like his stench.
Gloomwood has been on my radar for some time now. In fact, I have a video up with my first impressions of the pre-alpha demo, and they are mighty positive. Gloomwood is described by its publisher, New Blood Interactive, as Thief with Guns. Indeed, its goal is to revive the gameplay of the original Thief games, as well as pay tribute to foundational classics like System Shock. For this E3, New Blood has released a fresh gameplay trailer showing off the improvements they've made since the pre-alpha demo, like voice acting for the guards, flammable objects, and hands rendered for the guns. Yay! I'll be honest, I'm not super confident this one will come in 2021. Perhaps we'll see an early access release towards the end of the year at the very least. But either way, if you are a fan of old school immersive sims, New Blood Interactive, or both, then do not miss this one. Personally, I smell another indie classic here. New Blood also had a new trailer for Fallen Aces, their hand-drawn crime noir shooter. There wasn't a ton of new information given, but the trailer did show more of the game's combat and dropped a few tidbits on its story. There was an E3 demo planned for public download, but was axed after the co-creator was savagely mauled by bears. Real tragic. Sending my condolences to New Blood and wishing them some swift vengeance. Please show them your support at wehatebears.com. If you want to know more about Fallen Aces, check out my upcoming FPS Games video linked at the top and down in the description.
Disciples of Warlock.
Last, but certainly far from least, we have Project Warlock 2. Project Warlock 2 was surprise announced a few weeks ago through the developer's own Twitch live streams. But E3 is where we got to see a proper trailer for the game, and it looks fantastic. Within this retro shooter renaissance we find ourselves in, Project Warlock is one of the standouts. Personally, I gave the Switch version of the game a glowing review on this channel. The first game kept its aesthetics pretty closely in line with games like Wolfenstein 3D and Doom, but with the sequel, it appears we are going to be thrust into intricate three-dimensional vertical levels. Looks like we're getting our Quake on with this one. Enemy designs are also something to note, with their artwork straddling the line between 2D sprite art and polygons, giving them more of a cel-shaded look. In the game, you have the choice of playing as one of the three disciples of the original game's hero, each with their own unique skills, perks, magical abilities, and arsenal. Project Warlock 2 will be available for early access July 29th, with a Kickstarter campaign launching beside it. Be sure to check back to this channel for my first impressions, because you know I'm gonna be all over this game. There you have it, another E3 in the bag. Time to go home, put my feet up, and spend the rest of the night on my laptop watching all these trailers all over again. But what did you guys think about this year's show? What were your favorite announcements, first-person shooter or otherwise? And was there anything I didn't talk about that you think I should be aware of? Let me know in the comments. And just a heads up, all of the trailers shown here in this video are linked in the description below, in case you wanted to know more. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and ring the bell for notifications on future uploads. It's a couple clicks for you, but a massive help for this channel. And come say hi in the Kirk Collects Discord, where we're probably talking about all these games right now. Also linked in the description below. I'm Kirk, and thank you for watching this video. Stay safe out there.